Hello. I'm sure you'd agree that the last few months, as well as being very strange, have been very painful indeed for those who love coming to Shul, davening and socialising with a group. It's been a very strange experience for me and for our family, and I really miss being at Shul, as I know so many of you do too. And that's with some excitement that we're able to say that we're now in a position to begin planning a gradual return. I mentioned at the AGM that we're going to do all we can to resume when possible, but we need to do it carefully, and there are a number of challenges. First of all, everything that we have put together for this plan is based on government health guidelines and also recommendations from the United Synagogue, which has been extremely supportive and is in constant contact with the medical officers. And we have to recognise that the guidelines are shifting all the time, hopefully becoming easier. And that means that whatever we write, whatever we plan now, is going to change automatically in a week or two, and then I'm sure a week or two after that as well. In terms of dates, the government has said that there will be no return to public worship in places of worship until at the very earliest the 4th of July. That's an earliest date. We're hoping very much that by the 5th of July it will be possible to return to the Shul in some way. But we don't know for sure, and it will be some while before we do, perhaps not very long before the date itself. So after some careful thought and discussion with experts internally and externally, what we're planning to do is a phased return. And when we begin, we will start gently and hopefully accelerate quite quickly back towards a more normal provision. Although, of course, we're going to be governed by government restrictions, social distancing, face coverings and other concerns, which we hope will gradually ease, perhaps sooner than we think. We are geared to minimising the risk to others while returning as quickly as we can. And that means we're going to begin with a weekday evening service, which will be outside, just to assess how things are going for a few days, and then gradually move towards fuller provision. After perhaps a week or so, we will consider a Kabbalat Shabbat service outside if possible, depending on the weather, and then a Shabbos morning service. Now, when we have a Shabbos morning service, we're guided not to be in the building together for too long. And so, after thought, my decision is that we will begin with only laning a short drosha and musaf. People will have to daven shacharis at home, because the combination of being able to daven together and the recognition that the parts of the service that are most important to our community are the laning and musaf, that means that with limited time, it's my decision that that's the appropriate way forward. Although I hope it will only be for a couple of weeks, after which we can return to a normal provision. This plan, which I hope we'll be able to implement from the beginning of July, and I hope will accelerate within a relatively small number of weeks towards a normal provision, requires everyone's cooperation. It requires forbearance. There are going to be challenges, there are going to be difficulties, there are going to be frustrations. There will be people who are not able to come, there will be people who choose not to come, there are people who probably try to come who shouldn't come. And we will do our very best to work together to create a conflict-free environment in which we can return to our lovely Shul. We're also going to need volunteers in due course to help us work out the best use of the space to ensure that we can exit and enter the building safely and we're appropriately distant but still have meaningful services, and you'll hear about that in due course. And I hope very much that we'll be able to celebrate and daven together soon, as we say in Tehillim Beves, Elohim Neilech Barogesh, that we should be able to run off to Shul, to the house of God, in a throng. That means all together. In the meantime, sei gesund und stark, and thank you for your cooperation.